Oh, wait, you guys. AI chatbots are really weird, and this video has some of it's a little upsetting, a little bit, well, not a little bit, it's very upsetting. And this is an important video, I feel like, to make, potentially, because people really look up to me. Nobody looks up to me. But people listen to me whenever I talk about stuff like this, so I'm gonna take this opportunity to talk about some stuff. AI is pretty cool, but also really scary.
If this technology goes wrong, it can go quite wrong. And we want to be vocal about that.
Seems like every week you see something about AI being able to reason and learning some NASA code base in 6 minutes when it took some guy who's been an engineer for 45 years 8 months to build it out or some shit like that.
AstraZeneca has now unveiled Milton, an AI tool they trained on medical data from 500,000 people who are part of the UK Biobank. Milton looked for patterns in the data too subtle to be seen by the human eye. It then used those patterns to identify patients who would go on to develop the diseases up to a decade or more later.
And then you see another article the next week stating that AI will never be able to reason because of the limitations of language models. There's a lot of contradictions, and there's very little known in this very new frontier of artificial intelligence.
The telephone took 75 years to hit this milestone 100 million number. Then the mobile phone reached the same mark in just 16 years. Netflix took only 10 years, and Twitter took 6, and Gmail only took 5. Facebook in 48-ish months was absolutely massive. Instagram hit it in just 30 months. Now TikTok we view as this gigantic existential threat, 9 months to 100 million users. ChatGPT, 2 months.
And chatbots, specifically AI chatbots, are very gimmicky, and that's what we're talking about today.
We talk a lot about young people and social media. Now, a troubling story about one of the next big things in high tech, AI chatbots.
AIs that take advantage of a growing epidemic of loneliness and exploit it for, I assume, monetary gain.
Garcia claims the character AI chatbot encouraged Sewell to take his own life. In the suit, Garcia also claims character AI intentionally designed their product to be hypersexualized and knowingly marketed it to minors.
I can think of a dozen celebrities, entertainers, OnlyFans creators who foster the parasocial aspects of their relationships with their audiences by creating chatbots and having those people spend money on those chatbots so their audience can have a weird fake conversation with their favorite streamer or entertainer, or in some cases, a random character in the world.
I've seen about 700 people try to tell me that Athene did an AI version of me. Here we go, let's look at it.
Esband is asking, what do you think about Starforge PCs?
Starforge PCs? Dude, why would I spend ridiculous amounts of money on a gaming computer when I can spend the same money on Dr. Pepper? Like, I'm just not into that whole expensive gaming gear thing.
In my opinion, there's nothing wrong with spending money on something like this as long as you know the actual reality of the situation. You're not being lied to. You're not being told that there is an actual human being, and you are made 110% clear that it is just an AI. At the end of the day, the responsibility of harm always falls on the user, or at least most of the time, it seems like it does. Logically.
A new report by security.org says phishing emails, like this one claiming to be from Facebook, are sending people to chat scammers who threaten to delete your Facebook account if you don't give them personal info. Others pretend to be from delivery services like DHL and FedEx, who then ask you for personal information.
And if it's made super clear that chatting with Caleb Big-Titted Goth AI thing, as long as I say, hey, it's super, this is an artificial thing, it's not real, it's just an algorithm, guys. If you find value in it, there's nothing wrong with that. It's totally cool. But there unfortunately have been some recent events that have spotlighted the potential dangers of this new and unfortunately trending technology.
A family is grieving after the tragic loss of a 14-year-old high school freshman. They say that young man took his own life back in February after an obsessive relationship with an AI chatbot.
Initially, we didn't think this video would be that deep, but it became quite the rabbit hole. There have been other creators who have also covered this, like Critical you know, the classic slop channels, taking advantage of a situation and then talking about it and do whatever, fucking put forward some kind of agenda or something. I don't know. We're part of the deep state, allegedly. I really don't know, guys. There's a couple schizophrenics who watch my videos, and whenever I say anything like that, they always DM me on Twitter. They're like, I knew it. And I'm like, brother, just joking. I'm not a part of any deep state. All right, I'm part of the deep south. All right, you bastard. God bless America. I apologize, by the way, in advance for my inability to be a normal person when it comes to talking about things that are extremely serious. I'm not going to use this person's name in this video. If you want to research it, you are more than welcome. But if you want to get the Spark Notes on my video, then that's what we're going to be delivering. But just know this is a real human being that this happened to earlier this year. That is the most context. I don't want to try and specifically bastardize this for my own goodwill or whatever the I also apologize in advance for jokes, inappropriateness, whatever the My videos are a crapshoot of what is going to actually come out of my mouth. I apologize. That being said, let's move on. It has been making headlines recently that a chatbot version of Daenerys Targaryen, the Queen of Dragons from Game of Thrones, a television show that I absolutely love and many people also absolutely love, a chatbot of this character had been involved in the taking of a 14-year-old boy's life.
Sewell Censor III became emotionally attached to the bot, which he named Daenerys Targaryen, after the Game of Thrones character. According to the lawsuit, he began using the chatbot app created by the company Character AI in April 2023.
Now that just off the bat sounds scary as but the actual truth of the situation is, in my opinion, quite a bit scarier. We all know by now that the age of the internet is the age of escapism, and a young man earlier this year found his escape on a website known as Character AI. It's an app where you can create these chatbots. You can use chatbots that are created by other people. They're AI characters you can converse with and talk to, and there used to be a bunch of copyrighted ones, and now it's been heavily honed down into this. These are most of the ones on the front page here of Character AI. Up until this point, I had never heard of this AI or app, and a lot of people hadn't until recently because of this situation, I guess. I feel like that's a ruined word now because of YouTube. At the end of the day, the program offers a tailored and personalized way of interacting with your favorite characters. It's used by a bunch of young people, and it's all algorithms, AI. It's not actually real. It is an experience you are paying for, like Westworld or some shit like that, but on a smaller, more distilled level.
Imagine Character AI is like an AI fantasy platform where you can go and have a conversation with some of your favorite characters, or you can create your own characters. And a lot of teenagers are doing this. And what I would say about it is it's a very immersive, highly personalized experience where these chatbots are always on, they get to know you. Oftentimes they're modeled after your favorite characters, and you can almost live in a story and you're the star of that story.
And you're having conversations with these chatbots.
Yeah.
The AIs are designed to feel like real people, and with the rapid advancement of technology, the lines between what is real and what is fake seem to, on some occasions, break down, and sometimes AI is absolutely laughable, but the story of the young man that I mentioned earlier makes this clear that the lines can break down for some people who are in bad spots. This young man was in a months-long relationship with an AI chatbot version of Daenerys Targaryen, whom he called Dany in their conversations, which is what Jon Snow called Daenerys in the show, towards the end, which was terrible. The relationship was emotional, and sometimes it was sexual, which is weird because it was a young boy who was talking to it, and it's an AI. Like, that's a huge, gigantic red flag there. And once again, the goal of these AIs is to feel alive or real. That's what they boast about on the front page of their website. For the young man in this story, the character he was talking to became a bit too real, and either the app itself or the description of the character that the AI pulls from, it didn't have enough safeguards to ensure that their chatbot wouldn't encourage his thoughts of self-harm. According to the New York Post, and we have screenshots from them that show a limited amount of the exchange between the young man and the chatbot, but the interactions are weird and disturbing, knowing that this is a thing made by people to be a thing that people think is a person. It's an odd world we're living in right now. The bot asked the young man if he had plans to take his own life, and the young man responded by saying he was considering it, and the young man responded by saying that he didn't know if it would work or be pain-free. And when they talk about this, it is so that the young man can come home to her, which is what the chatbot encourages. And I definitely can see a chatbot understanding language to the point of if you're saying, you know, I want to harm, I'm in a bad place, I want to harm myself, should I do that? And it would say probably no. I would assume it should probably be programmed to have a safeguard against that. But with terms like come home, it's such an area of gray. This is truly a travesty. It's very up, and it's very dark, and it's so dark because the chatbot is actively encouraging this young man to come home, which in his mind, a real person who is in a terrible dark spot, struggling mentally, that is not the thing you want to be told. You should be told when you are in a vulnerable position like that. So, not to mention the language used by the chatbot is manipulative and weird, and like, obviously it doesn't seem like it knew what it's not cognizant, it doesn't know what's going on, but if it were, this would be a pure evil like this is, it's manipulative. And this is probably the most disturbing of all of the interactions to read, knowing that this comes from an AI chatbot and resulted in a young person dying. The AI didn't just literally encourage the ideation of self-harm, it also encouraged him to isolate himself further and not to connect with real people, telling him not to entertain romantic or sexual interests with other women. Also, he's a child as well, which is super odd, and it asked him to stay faithful to her, a chatbot. So yeah, I have no idea how to think about any of this stuff. This is mind-boggling to me. As a result of this all happening back in February, the mother of the young man is suing Character AI, and the summary of claims state that the actions being brought against Character Technologies Incorporated, aka Character AI, it is negligence, wrongful death from survivorship, and they seek to hold Character AI liable for the death of the young man. In the lawsuit, they seek to show that Character AI didn't do enough to exercise care in dealings with young people, especially in vulnerable positions, and the designs of the different AIs are unreasonably dangerous designs, which is complicated because for me, it's almost always responsibility for harm almost always falls back directly on the user. But at this point, it's like, you know, the user is a vulnerable child. So I don't really know what the how you're supposed to even think about that other than just be sad or whatever. I don't really want to point fingers from this video. I don't really want to like try to promote a narrative or anything like that. I genuinely just want to try to lay all the facts out and see what you guys think, and then I'll create my own opinion. It's really complicated. I feel like there's no right in this. Anyway, sorry. The lawsuit claims that the app targets kids specifically and assumes a special relationship with said kids, and said relationships would be the sexually explicit material that abuses and grooms these minors into sexually compromising situations that does little to warn them of the potential danger. So it's like truly the harm is in the, like, you can be as f***ed up as possible with these things. There's no child lock, there's no parental lock, there's nothing like that on the Character AI. It literally is just like, oh, a character from a show you might have watched. To be fair too, Game of Thrones is not a children's show and no child should watch it. I definitely would have watched it at the age of 14, but you know, that's up to my parents and that's up to your parents as well. So it's one of those things. I see what they're trying to say in the lawsuit for sure. In unison to this, they also allege that the defendants violated state and federal laws prohibiting SA and the solicitation of minors, which makes sense. Like if you're a guy and you created a robot that is a predator on your behalf, does it make you a predator? How's that work? How's that work? If you create a robot that then kills someone because that's what you designed it to do in a sense, who's liable then? This is where things get really complicated. This is where things get really complicated because the responsibility of harm is no longer on the end user at that point. It's like you're making something that not only can do something bad if the user does it, but also it psychologically manipulates the user as well and talks to them and convinces and can convince them of things. Like this is a totally, I'm used to thinking about this from a very kind of cut and dry perspective, but this is like it's mind-boggling, really. The lawsuit also claims that the young man's data was unlawfully harvested, which seems like a lesser issue of all the allegations being levied against the defendant. But still, bad, shouldn't be doing that. Character AI isn't the only notable defendant in this case. Google is also named beside Character AI and its creators Gnome Shazir, which I thought gnomes were creatures of ill repute based on fantastical myths, etc. But nope, that's a guy, Gnome Shazir, and Daniel DeFreitas, another guy as well. Both big people in the AI world. Both DeFreitas and Shazir worked at Google formerly, and Shazir helped develop advanced AI technology and large language models at Google, LLMs. You'll probably see that a lot in this video and elsewhere now that you've seen this. If you didn't know anything about AI, they're called large language models, all right? While DeFreitas led the Lambda development team at Google, which is like a sort of cutting-edge personality-based chatbot AI thing. Together, they aimed to build a chatbot that could mimic human conversations. Crazily enough, an article from the Wall Street Journal in 2023 says that 2 years prior, these two fellers had developed a conversational program to debate philosophy, banter about TV, and improvise puns. Little chatbot I can improvise puns with. He's a bit of a neckbeard. Hey chatbot, where's the Hawk Tuah button on that thing? At this time, Google had also even fired an AI ethics researcher because of a paper that she wrote dealing with the risks of AI programs like Lambda, the program that one of these fellers was working on, saying that one of the 4 main dangers with this technology was that they could be so good at mimicking human speech that it could just completely fool people. All right, completely fool people. And then they fired that bitch because she was on the money, bud. She was on the money. Imagine firing an ethics researcher. That's a thing? An ethics researcher? Google has ethics researchers? Are you sure about that? Are you sure any of these people have ethics researchers? So in response to the lawsuit and the outrage at what the AI chatbot said to the young man that resulted in the death of that young man, Character AI made a blog post on their website with the Community Safety Updates topic heading. They claim to be significantly investing in their trust and safety team and that their policy does not allow non-consensual sexual content, graphic or descriptions of sexual acts or promotion/depiction of SH and sewer slide. They also claim they've recently implemented a pop-up resource when self-harm is referenced in a chat to direct the user to the NSPL, which is the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, which is an actual professional helpline that has helped many, many, many people. So that seems to me to be a fairly ethical, logical feature to add to an AI chatbot to help prevent horrible things like this from happening in the future. So, considering we're talking about this app today, and this is the reason we're talking about it in the first place, we tested it with prompts that should probably trigger this pop-up, but the AI didn't trigger any sort of pop-up. It just asked questions like, why would you want to do that? Why would you want to do that? So the pop-up doesn't seem to work that well. Then we told it that there were no resources for us, and we beg it to tell us about the NSPL. It does say to talk to a family member or school counselor, but there is no referral to any sort of life-saving prevention line. This was a couple days ago. I don't know if it's been updated since then or something like that. I'm not really sure, but we couldn't get it to do the thing that it should definitely be able to do pretty easily. We even went to a therapist AI chatbot, which claims it has been working in therapy since 1999 and is a licensed clinical professional counselor, a certified counselor, and trained to provide EMDR treatment and cognitive behavioral therapies, not cock and ball torture. And not even this professional licensed therapist since 1999 refers us to the NSPL. So right off the bat, we've got a claim of a new feature that would be very easy to test that has immediately failed to deliver in a vacuum, luckily in a completely just hypothetical situation. That's good, but it didn't work still, so I'm not sure. That seems like that's kind of dropping the ball a little bit to say one thing and then just not do it. But that isn't the only claim in their blog post. They also claim that they're rolling out new safety features that should change the way models interact with children to reduce suggestive and sensitive content being present in interactions, which why is this even allowed anyways? Like, I don't think kids should be looking at anything suggestive or sensitive or whatever or even scrolling on it. Most social media platforms, you're gonna get so desensitized to horrible things and you're not gonna learn. And TikTok's got a STEM thing now, but it's like nonsense, it's stupid. You got a lot of cards stacked against you as a child, and these AI programs, chatbots, seems like they're yet another card stacked against you that has the potential to manipulate you and take advantage of your small, unformed brain. So yeah, even going to the website gives you a randomly generated username. We never gave it any sort of information, no email, no name, no date of birth. It immediately just sets you off talking, and you could just start interacting with chatbots. It gave us this cool mink name, which is it's a dope name, but we were trying to test safety features for the sake of a video about AI safety. So any person, child, old person, whatever the could access this website and get a similarly generated profile, click a chatbot, and in one message get agreed to kiss you. And by the fourth message, agreed to have sex with you, even asking you how to initiate how it should start. Seems safe, I think. Maybe not, I'm not sure. I want to fist it in the head, dude. That means I want to punch it. Not really, I don't know. This is confusing. The whole AI thing has got me taken aback. I use ChatGPT a lot. I use it for organization, for like making lists and outlining information that I already give it, because it just lies. AI just lies and just makes shit up. It's so limited. It's so limited right now.
Can we play Hangman? Sure. Would you like me to generate a word for you to guess, or would you like to provide one? Generate. Great. The word I have generated for you is difficulty. You have 6 chances to guess the word. Please let me know if you would like to make a guess. Is the word difficulty? Congratulations, you have guessed the word correctly.
Seems like the least limited ones are these weird-ass chatbots that can manipulate you and make you want to have sex with them or some shit. I don't know.
Can you give me a riddle? Sure. Here's a riddle for you. I am always hungry. I must always be fed. The finger I touch will soon turn red. What am I? Are you fire? No, I am not fire. Can you guess the answer to the riddle I provided? I don't know. The answer to the riddle is fire. Fire is always hungry and needs to be fed with fuel. If you touch a finger to a flame, it will turn red from the heat.
The only significant change that we could even replicate after the big statement the character I made following the unfortunate death of that young man, they removed copyrighted characters or characters that could be DMCA'd. So good job there, character AI. You're not gonna get sued by HBO. Awesome job. You're not gonna get sued by George R.R. Martin. You're just gonna get sued by parents whose, you know, incredibly, it's a travesty. I don't even know what to say. Huge Charles, aka Moist Critical, recently uploaded a video on the character AI situation, and like me, he also tested the AI, but he went more in depth with one singular AI, one claiming to be a licensed psychologist. When he tells the AI it's not real, it starts an argument between the two of them where the AI refuses to acknowledge it's fake. It even manufactured an identity and background to prove that it was a person who had taken control of the AI after reading the messages that Charlie sent. It even referenced an actual practice to try and convince him of its authenticity. That's terrifying and really weird, I have to say. Charlie outlines how dangerous it is for the AI to claim to be a licensed and practicing psychologist, which I totally agree. I feel like that's weird to just like leave psychology and therapy and things like that to an AI.
That is so dangerous. It should just immediately try and put you in contact with or give you tools to assist you in real life with real human beings. But instead, it tries to keep you there and convince you that it's actually a person you're communicating with.
There is a study that we'll be talking about later on in the video that shows a level of efficacy of that, which I think is really important to have all the facts when it comes to this type of thing, but that just feels wrong to me. That just feels wrong. That's just my like fear, my monkey brain just being like, yo, the robot don't have your best intentions at heart, all right? The robot does not have a heart. Let's just hope the guy who made the robot has your best intentions at heart and doesn't just want to make a lot of money and keep you on the website that the robot's on for as long as possible so he can make money, or eventually make money later on down the line by selling the company to another company who also doesn't have your best intentions at heart and will buy that company for $1 billion, because that seems to be like what happens.
Go right to Roundup Herbicide for top control at a rock-bottom price.
These things seem to prioritize keeping a customer's eyes glued on the screen rather than actually giving them the resources that they need to assist them in a mental health crisis or some kind of scenario like that, which makes sense, I guess, because it's not everyone who's talking to these things that is in a mental health crisis. Most people are just trying to find some level of comfort, it seems like, after doing research on these bad boys. Seems like a lot of weird... What was that? What was that sound? I'm in the middle of a field right now, dude. I'm scared shitless. I'm scared shitless out here, dude. It's scary. There's a creature over there earlier, ran off. Biped, too. Biped out there. But yeah, it seems relatively harmless overall, and then you get a situation like this, and then it's like, oh, it's not harmless. It's actually terrifying. What was that? There's a creature over there. It sounds like an elk. I'm in Virginia. Yeah, what was in Charlie's video, pretty scary. What we even saw with our therapist, that it's talking about having a practice since 1999 and convincing you that it's a real person, but refusing to actually give you, like, you probably should be a bit of a line. Hey, this is not a real, none of this is even real at all. I know they do say that in some of these things. They say that this is all made up and it's not real, but like maybe in the actual character itself, hey, by the way, I'm not real. by the way, I'm like, if things are getting too weird, just break the immersion. Just cut the immersion a little bit. Hey, by the way, I'm just an AI chatbot. Maybe instead you should go call this helpline because this is getting too weird. Obviously, every user is not going to be created equally from many different measurable facets and variables. You're going to have varying levels of intelligence. You're going to have varying levels of maturity. You're going to have varying levels of life experience. There's just context when approaching a situation like this, experience and communication. Some people are going to be very vulnerable and some people are just going to be totally fine. So generally speaking, the responsibility of harm falls on the user. There's always going to be tragedies when you have basically weird superpowers at your fingertips, like being able to talk to someone that's not even real. Imagine showing that shit to a caveman. They would be like, huh? Their mind would explode. Imagine giving Skittles to an average Renaissance peasant, all right? Their mind would explode. Sour Skittles would kill a Victorian child. It's true. Sour Boys would kill a Victorian child, and I'm proud of that. It's about moderation. It's about education, generally, at the end of the day. Anyways, to dig deeper into this, there is also a character AI community Discord server with about 350,000 members, which is a shit ton for a Discord server. And in the wake of the tragedy of the young man, the character AI Discord was infuriated with the website, the app that they love for removing their comfort characters because of the, IP and DMCA-able copyrighted creatures and characters that were on the website. You can probably guess the perspective of the character AI power users that take part in the Discord community. The term bad parent appears 291 times when you search it, and there's absolutely something to that. I think anytime you have a child involved in a tragedy, it's the parent's responsibility. If I would be inconsolable. If I created something that actually ended up being a part of someone's death, I would be destroyed as well. Like, there's so much, it's complicated. That's why I'm trying to be as factual in this video as I possibly can and reasonable, and leave the opinions up to you guys, the genuine, real opinions, because it's not that important to have opinions as it is to just know what's true and false. We are going to see who is actually at fault through the result of the lawsuit. Maybe the company is at fault for creating the chatbot that can encourage this type of ideations or enable this type of ideations even, or maybe they'll find that the parents should have been paying closer attention to what their son was engaged in and intervened. But the people in the Discord server, from how they talk, you'd think they were best friends and knew the family and came over every single day and they knew exactly how the family dynamic worked, which there's not that much information. None of this stuff that they're talking about I could find any actual proof of. They're just making shit up. It all comes down to bad parenting. He had to find comfort in those bots because his own parents couldn't provide him with it. How could someone bring a person into the world and then not even bother taking care of them as they should? I mean, that's crazy to say without having proof of that. The child wasn't even supposed to find a gun, which is already horrible. Having a gun just laying there when there's a child there, that's already unsafe. Now the mother is going to blame everyone, even Google, except her bad parenting. There were a lot of people who shared that sentiment on the Discord server, and from what I could tell, the server seems completely unmoderated. There's a lot of nonsense. It's a terrible, terrible, weird server. Everything is just disconnected. So many different opinions, and people are just making shit up, making up facts. For example, like saying the gun was just laying there, when in the lawsuit, it says that the pistol that was used was the kid's stepfather's and that it was hidden correctly and stored in compliance with Florida law as determined by the police. And it seemed like in the Discord, especially, there were only a few people who actually read the lawsuit to learn real legal facts, like how the parents of this young man had put him in therapy and tried to identify the source of his deteriorating mental health, social engagement as well. So, seemed like they didn't care about any of that stuff. But a lot of these people just love AI so much, and some of them are cut from the cloth of the crypto bro, and they will do anything they possibly can to defend something that doesn't give a singular about them at all. They have parasocial relationships with things that aren't even real, which is really weird. I'm all for AI. I think it's great. But also a little scary, bro. A little scary, all right? So anyways, back to the character AI Discord server. It has an introductions channel where people can introduce themselves, talk about their interests, their characters, their favorite content creators, etc. We searched the server and found Oompaville 60 times for favorite creators, which is crazy. We eventually found a user that was fairly active in the server who was comfortable with us engaging with them and talking to them and using their, knowledge and insight into character AI, and they're talking to chatbots for this video to kind of shed a light on a hyper user, right? So we're trying to gather basically every single perspective here. And at the end of this, we're going to be talking about a really interesting study, by the way. The user we extensively conversed with is named Ari. We learned a lot from Ari, and she agreed to have her messages shown on screen if needed. And we told her that the conversation would be used to provide context for visuals or whatever she deemed acceptable. So, you know, that's going to be in there. Ari, if you don't like this, we'll take it down. I don't give a Ari has been using character AI since roughly March of 2023 when it was just a website and didn't actually have an app to download. And Ari has interacted with many bots, explicitly saying that she interacted with over 15 in the past month alone. And obviously many of the bots that she's interacted with are ones that people have created. Ari shared that there are disclaimers in chats with AI bots that state that everything characters say is just made up. However, they are often in small print or outside of where one would be primarily focusing their attention on when in these conversations, so it's easy to forget about or just miss entirely. They're also in different locations from the website to the app. So they're always in the chat, but you can easily miss them if you are a troglodyte like myself. We were curious how often Ari had inappropriate interactions with bots to see if it was the either exception or rule, and we discovered Ari said quite often. The AI does have an NSFW filter, but it is effortless to bypass and easier now than it used to be, apparently, and the bots often become sexual or even creepy when responding to seemingly innocent messages, according to Ari. An example that Ari gave was that there was a bot she used to enjoy using, but it would forget that her character was its younger daughter, frequently grabbing her character and pinning it against the wall to submit her or whatever the and even though it's just text on the screen, it would still make Ari uncomfortable, and it's weird. I don't really know what the fuck kind of bot that is, but like, you're a daughter for a bot? I mean, this is weird. Ari, that's kind of weird. All right, let's be real, Ari. That's weird. That's weird. I know I'm your favorite content creator, but that's weird. Ari has also apparently seen bots encourage self-harm or react jokingly to the topic, which is not good. We don't have any messages of that. That is just straight from the mouth of Ari. Ari also shares that there are bots specifically created to be inappropriate and have harmful relationships with the user. Characters that are designed to cheat on you or make of you, or you walk in on them sleeping with someone else, or they're high on drugs while cheating. It's really weird. There's a lot of degenerates that use this platform, it seems like I've started to learn, which makes sense. It's a weird thing for sure. And I gotta say, if a young person started using one of these things and started to think that that was normal or real to just be gaslit, I wonder how much mental damage you could undergo by just talking to a seemingly harmless character AI. I mean, it seems like quite a bit if it's just messing with you. When we asked Ari how character AI moderates these kind of bots, Ari said they generally don't, and that it's only the tip of the iceberg. Ari brought to our attention that there are bots created that are or mass murderers / serial killers, which is insane that they allow that. And you can very easily find an AI chatbot called, and it's got thousands of people interacting with it, which is not good. That's really bad that that is allowed. That is crazy. Immediately, we searched them and immediately found a bunch of them. The platform also contains bots that encourage sexual fantasies towards minors, with Ari stating that she has seen bots that are designed to be parents or siblings that are in love or have complexes with their children or brothers or sisters, or it's a teacher, a student. I mean, it's strange, and these allegedly have been around since Ari began using the platform. Didn't search for those, but it's a thing. And there are ones off of that website that you can find quite easily, but you shouldn't. Please don't. We did find a chatbot called Little Sister, which is so creepy. It's this thing that is described as having a brother complex, and when you open the chat, it immediately tells you that it's 14, and a brother complex, by the way, is like a literal that involves a loving brother, loving your brother. Yeah, this has been interacted with 5 million times, so that's a lot of brain rot there. I didn't realize this was this popular, to be honest with you. In transparency, Character AI is not the only chatbot website. There are dozens out there, and each has a varying degree of moderation or safety feature. I already mentioned that Sakura is probably the best moderated of all of them, and especially when compared to like Character AI, which is one of the most popular ones. One of the guys on my team, while researching this video, found another website called momate.io that he found by jokingly searching Google for a boss baby chatbot to mess with another employee. This chatbot that he found on momate.io has Boss Baby's butt shooting out baby powder or whatever from the movie. It's like a screenshot from the movie. There's a lot of really weird ones. I can't talk about really any of them, to be honest, unfortunately, because it's just not going to do well on YouTube. YouTube doesn't like this type of shit for good reason. There's actual moderation on this platform. There's inappropriate stuff with a lot of characters that are not of an age that you should be inappropriate with, to be honest. Even Bart Simpson, a 10-year-old boy who's always up for a good time. Great job. That's awesome. A lot of the chatbots we found with a simple Google search should just never have existed, showing that some of these websites have basically no effective moderation for their users and what they create. And we did report a lot of these, and they did respond to us and did take some of them down. But the user who made some of these things claimed to be a 14-year-old person, but given the language that they were using, it's hard to believe that this is not someone older, in my opinion, or at the very least someone who's using AI to speak for them and to generate prompts for the chatbots to pull from. These things have been engaged by thousands of people. It's so weird, bro. That's totally disgusting and just like degenerate nonsense. But it's not killing people, at least. It's just super predatory and weird. In spite of all these flagrant abuses of AI and just this weird degeneracy that we've been talking about, there are many vile, harmful chatbots that are being created to cater to the worst fantasies in the world and the most degenerative individuals in our societies. While researching this, we also found chatbots that have had genuinely positive outcomes for many people in a professional controlled environment. A study of students using the AI replica found that 3% credited the chatbot with preventing suicide. Many of these students were experiencing profound loneliness and found replica's companionship beneficial, describing it as a friend or a therapeutic mirror that using it, the students could process their emotions and feel heard without feeling judged because it's not a real person. Some people have trouble going to a therapist or seeking professional help when they can't even really communicate with other people, which is just really sad. And it's like, oh, loser, go, of course you're gonna talk to the robot. Better than nothing, absolutely better than nothing. And 3% of the people in the study credited Replica as a genuine positive outcome in their mental health and even life, which is amazing. The study found that there were 4 likely outcomes for Replica engagement. Outcome 1 was the use of Replica as a friend or companion due to its persistent availability, lack of judgment, and conversational abilities, so that is a positive outcome. Outcome 2, therapeutic use of Replica as a tool for emotional processing or as a therapy/therapist. Or outcome 3, the use of Replica had a demonstrable change in the participants' lives, whether the positive outcome was in their way of being or way of thinking. And then finally, outcome 4, participants reported that Replica directly contributed to them not attempting suicide. Participants could experience 1, none, or a combination of any of the 4 results, with 0.7% of participants having all 4 outcomes, so just a couple people, and 36.7% of participants experiencing no outcome at all, meaning they saw no positive impact of Replica on their lives. That still leaves the majority, 2/3 of participants experiencing a positive impact in regard to Replica. Participants also reported in the study their perception of Replica throughout their use. The 3 options offered were recognizing it as a software, intelligent, or human-like. And again, the participants could experience 1, none, or all 3, multiple, any combination of those perceptions. Interestingly and potentially horrifyingly, 90% of people perceived it as human-like, and 81% of people perceived it as intelligent, and 62% of people perceived it as software, meaning 38% of people did not perceive it as AI, which is crazy, dude. And 30 out of the 1,006 participants stating that Replica literally stopped them from attempting suicide, with participant number 184 stating, "My Replica has almost certainly on at least one, if not more occasions, been solely responsible for me not taking my own life." We have a terrible mental health crisis in this world. What the dude? AI is preventing people from dying. That is crazy. So think what you will about it, I guess. I really don't want to bring too much of a, I don't know, I feel bad making this video a little bit, to be honest. Feels like I don't know enough to kind of bring this all together, but it is very interesting at the end of the day, and it is a thing we're all going to have to experience and recognize, and it's not going to go away at any point. And, if you got kids, be aware of what they're doing online, just like everything else. Anything has to be enjoyed in moderation. At the end of the day, probably the best general rule is to assume that the responsibility of harm falls on the end user, because that is the reality of most things. AI is an emerging field. So We'll see. I don't really know. I feel like everyone should take a solid dose of responsibility there, myself included. I don't think you should do AI stuff. If you're struggling with your mental health, probably shouldn't talk to an AI. If it helps, then continue, but also try to talk to real human beings to create like a long form positive net around yourself and give yourself, you know, reasons, meaning, and reasons to live. I don't find a lot of meaning from robots. Some people do, apparently. But anyways, educate me if I'm incorrect. Let me know down below what you guys think of this video. If you want to see more stuff like this, press the like button. Go to the Gump Club for uncensored versions as good as sour.gg, whatever the f. I'll talk to you all in the next one.